All right, let's get started. This is a PRS style guitar. I don't know if y'all have seen them before, but PRS is just a beautiful guitar. Uh, I love them, and I wanted to be able to make one using a Spire, and I finally figured out how to do it. So here's the finished product. Um, you can see how it's not raised a whole lot, but it does have a really cool shape. So I thought I'd show you the how I got here. Um, so let's begin. I'm going to start from basically scratch. You're going to see the vectors I use, and um, you'll see what I started with. So let's just kill this. I'm going to keep the tool paths because we'll end up using them. I do have this one baked component, and as you'll see as we go along, it takes a lot of baking to get to this part, to get to this finished product here. So let's just kill it. Let's start from scratch. So there, it's gone. So what I did, I started off with this picture I found on the internet and basically traced this. And I'm not going to go into tracing. If you want me to go into tracing, I can, but that wasn't my plan. But note editing is so important on tracing. So I'm going to assume for now, if you want a tracing video, let me know. But I've already traced this here and then ended up making this line here, this vector here, to create the shape that I wanted. You'll notice these shapes here and here and here. And what in the world are they? Well, these two are for making this and this. This PRS doesn't really have an indentation here, but some of the PRSs do, so I put one in there, and I'll do it in this video. But this is interesting. The way I came up with these shapes is that Aspire is looking down on shapes. So to make a contour that bevels at the end, you also have to make this vertical line, and this has to be level here. This has to be, whoops, this has to be level basically here to do what we're doing. Because it's going to create a shape like this. And it's going to bevel down at the end of the guitar, over here. This is going to bevel down. But if I don't put this here, this vertical edge, it's not going to work right. The same with the edges up here. Now this could be turned around, this over here, because it's going to be used up here. But that doesn't matter. So what I did is I traced this, and I came out with this line here. Then I offset it probably 0.02, 0.03 inch. Because I want to oversize the model and then cut it down with this one so I don't get any ragged edges. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. So what I'm going to do right now is start creating, using a 2-rail sweep to, this is an older version. This is 10.5. I'm not buying the new versions all the time. So basically you take this vector after you trace it off the guitar, create an offset, And then by hand you've got to make this shape. And again, hit N for node editing, and you just move the nodes around. Like I can move a bunch of nodes like this if I want, but you have to select them. So you have to learn node editing to do this. And I spent a lot of time trying to get this right. And right here, across the neck here, I got it real close. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you basically want the shape of the PRS. And if you're familiar with a PRS, you know how it has that unique shape here. So what we're going to do right here is, Sophie. All right. We're going to create a base. I'm going to hit N to get out of node editing. Create a base right here. So we're just going to create a basic shape. I've got the base height at about 0.3675. Anywhere around there, 0.4, 0.3675. That's good. And you'll see it's got a little bit of a bulge here, and I also set a tilt angle on it. Now, how do you do a tilt angle? Real quick, I'll show you. It's set, and you just draw a line like that, and then put your tilt angle in, and that'll make this end go down, slope down a little bit. And that's what I want. That looks pretty cool there. That's about what I want. Because the front of the guitar, you know, bevels down a little bit. And I want that bulge in it because that's goes with the PRS shape. So now we have that. And now I'm going to do the 2-rail sweep. So in doing a 2-rail sweep, you select, we're going to be sweeping this outside vector and this inside vector. And when you do a sweep, you have to remember that there's a starting point for the sweep. And let's just do it. So I've got my base here, and I'm not going to cut this base out yet. I want to cut it out with the profile shape in a little while, and I'll tell you why then. So now I'm going to go over here to create a sweep, use selection. And something really important about sweeping is that you have to have your start points parallel to each other. At this point, parallel. If they were here, they would have to be like right here. But I chose to put them here. Now I can move the start point, but I don't want to. See how I right clicked? Make start point. So you can put your start points anywhere. Something else, you see these arrows, you can see that the sweep is going in the same direction. Now if I right click it and reverse rail, you'll see that these arrows changed. And that's wrong. They got to be in the same direction. So there we go. So right now, so make sure your start points are beside each other. So now let's just start it. So I've already hit use selection, so I'm just going to hit this right here and hit apply. Okay, so what do we have? So it swept this shape around the entire, and look, something's wrong. Okay, how did that happen? How can that happen? Well, it can be in the order in which you selected these. So I'm going to hit close. Whoops. Component 2. I'm going to kill component 2 because we know that's a mess. So I'm going to go back here, select this one, select this one, hit 2-rail sweep, use selection, and hit apply. So I picked the outside one first this time. So if we view it, you'll see that shape. So it swept that shape, this shape, all the way across. I'm still over here in two-rail sweep, so I can continue to use other shapes to shape this. Because I've done this so many times, I'm still using this shape, so I'm gonna make sure I put it right here. And see how it threw that in there? I'm gonna move it over here a little bit and put one here. I'll hit apply again. We're not gonna see any difference because when you only have one shape selected, it's gonna sweep around the whole thing. But in our case, we want to use more than one shape. We're going to use 2 shapes. Now look at this weird shape. Again, these have to be, the top of these shapes must be vertical. In other words, a line right here will connect them, a straight parallel line. Because if you don't, this thing's going to be all wacky looking. So now I just select this shape. I'm going to put it way up here and here because I want all this for this type of shape, and it's going to merge into this shape. So you'll see the merge as soon as I hit apply. So now we look at the 3D view, and voila, we're getting really close. I don't know if this red's a good color, but I can see it pretty good. You can see the shape. It's got some nice depth to it. I like it. So wow, we've come a long way already just in those 2 shapes. Okay, so now we have to put this big indentation up here, and I'm going to use this this tool here by turning a vector. So I'm going to select that and spin. See the second one? Spin around left endpoint. I'm going to pick that, and I'm going to hit apply. And I'm just going to close this, and now I can change the size now. So I'm going to pull it over here, where I think I've only done this a few thousand times, and that's getting close. Let's go back over to it, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to pull this in a little bit and 3D view it. Just a tad smaller. Okay, that's getting close. Maybe just a tad smaller. Okay, I like it. Alright, so I'm just going to take this shape, Control C, Control V, copy it, and move it over here. But this shape's a little longer, so I'm just going to pull this a little bit. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. And then look at it real quick. Okay, well, we'll end up cutting all this garbage on the outside of the vector out in a minute. So we're getting real close. This shape, 3.1, I'm not going to make it as deep, so I'm just going to make that more shallow, about 1/2 inch, instead of this one's real deep. And I think I'm going to pull it out just a smidgen. So that's pretty good right there. All right, so all the shapes are in there that I want, but I need to cut all this stuff out here. So I'm just going to select everything over here, get out of here, and go to use this tool right here. Clear area of selected components outside the vectors. So the vector I want to clear from is this middle vector. This vector right here. And I'm going to select all of this and then hit that button. Okay, the component must be baked. Yes, I want to bake it. And there we go. So now I've now got one model, and that's it. And that's what I wanted. So now I'm going back over here, and I'm going to use this spinning or turning vector. So I'm going to take this one and spin it, and see this vector? It just gives it a really cool shape for the knobs, for the pots. So I'm just going to hit apply and start new component. Hit this one, hit apply, and then close. I think that's it, isn't it? 3D, so there we go. Now, these are the, the neck, the tremolo, pickups. So I've already done these advanced. So I'm just going to recalculate all the tool paths. Okay, it looked like it happened twice. Reset, preview, all tool paths. Okay, there we go. So, probably wondering, well, what's the height of this thing? All right, let's just bake the whole thing just for the fun of it. That way, we want to bake the whole thing at the end because we want to get a correct height on the model. So let's go up here and go to set 1.75. The model says it's 1.28, so we can just go over here and whoops. And we'll just increase the base height a little bit until we get to, you can see it's changing right here. We'll just just drag this up until we get up to 1.7, get real close. It's going to error out on us. You can, use some math and put it in here if you want to, but I'm not going to do all that right now. I'm just going to get it real close. 1.7433 is plenty. So I'm just going to say okay, recalculate. And then reset preview. And then you're good. Now, you can also you can save this thing as a model now. Toolpaths, model, create component from you can actually, you know, you can create a component from a toolpath preview. That's really cool. So in other words, if I preview all my toolpaths, which I've got right here, didn't need to do that. I can save this preview as a model. Model, create component from toolpath preview. And I can just export 3D clip art. All kinds of cool things in Vectric. Let's see. So that's it. The main takeaway in all this is, you know, these shapes right here. You know, that's how we have a bevel at the end. We just put this vertical line here. That's something I figured out one day, and I was like, wait a second, how is Vectric looking at this thing? So it's looking at down and this vertical, horizontal plane right here. And because it's a 2-rail sweep, so this is going to one side and that's going to the other side. And, you know, getting this shape in your mind's fine, but adding this one little vertical wing to the outside creates that dip because it's still a 2-rail sweep. Now, let's say I didn't use if I cut this thing off, I cut this vertical wing off. And we just use that. All right, watch what happens. So I'm going to do my typical 2-rail sweep. Use selection. And remember we started with that one. Apply. Okay, well, let's put this base on here real quick. Well, we can't. Let's go start over. Component 1. Let's kill that. Yeah, this will, real quick, we'll just add this back. There's another base. Close. 2-rail sweep. Select this. Shift, hold down shift, use selection. And we're going to use this one. Hit apply. Remember, we got that view. Now let's use this. You know, we put this, you got to select this and you got to click it in here a few times to get it to, when you're using multiple shapes, you got to get these in here. You know, this red tag corresponds to this red tag. See that? This red tag. Now this is going to be a different color. See, this is the same shape we used earlier, but without, this is not being selected. So if we apply, you know, we get it doesn't make sense. That's why you have to use that vertical wing. So I don't know if it's going to let us add these. Okay, we'll just join that back, and now we start over. Reselect it. And now select this one. Apply. Look at it in the 3D view. Okay, so that's using this shape. That's using this shape all the way around here. And look what happens to the front. The front gets mutilated. Because we don't want this shape up here. So now we're going here. We'll select this. Okay, let's keep this one and put that one right here, and right here, and right here. But this is the one we want up here. So now we have to select this and replace this. Is it selected? Yeah. All right, let's put it here and here. Okay, it's not letting me replace it, so I'm just going to delete this one. I still got this one selected, and I'm going to put it here. There we go. So now when I hit apply, our shape should look good, and it does. So the cool thing with two rail sweep is you can have as many of these profiles as you want, and just place them in where you want. I want to go back over here. I want this one really close up over here because I like this wing. See, I like this wing going up as far as I can. And with Vectric, you don't have to be a scientist to mess with this stuff. And you can, as long as you don't close this, you can come over here and play with this. See how that's a little messy right there? I can come back over here and straighten this up a little bit. I'm going to pull this over here and bring this up here. Hit apply. Look at my 3D view and see how I cleaned it up some. Go back over here. Maybe I need to pull this one down a little bit. Hit apply. And it gets a little, and there's other little tricks you can do. You can smooth this stuff out if you want, which I do. I do more than I like to admit. But so I can, let's just apply, close. I can always come over here and I gotta bake these if I want to do this. So I'm gonna bake these two components and just smooth this out a little bit. See that little bit of ridge right there? I can just smooth that out a little bit. Doesn't hurt anything. That looks fine. Okay. And now I can continue with my other stuff. You know, this was the first one we did. You know, do this again. And I adjust the size on this every time, but I could just make this a little smaller and then spin it to that size, and it'll probably won't have to move it as much. But I usually end up getting that white tip right there. Yeah, there we go. And if I don't want it so deep, I can just, you know, that's an inch right there. I can make it a little less. And then I go back over here to, and then copy, Control C, Control V. And I got a copy. I just move this over here, stretch it a little bit. Whoops, this way. Elongate it. And then just turn it a little bit. Maybe a little bit more turn. Something like that. Yeah. And probably not as deep. That's component 1-1. Yeah, just a little subtle. And then go back over here. Bake all this. bake it. And I can just cut it out like this if I want. We'll recalculate all the tool paths. But it's good to bake it before you do all this because you don't want to cut all that stuff. Oh, I forgot my two little things here, but that's okay. You'll notice this happened this time, and that's because I didn't bake it, I think. Let's see what the profile is. Yeah, that's the problem. You really do need to bake this thing first. So if I take all this and then cut it out and then calculate my tool paths. So yeah, it is good to bake it and then cut it out. And a lot cleaner. Oh yeah, and I can come back and put these on. That's no problem. I'll do these. And you notice I didn't do a rough pass. It just takes too much time to show you. So that's it. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun trying to figure this thing out. But anyway, keep cutting. Let me know if you have any questions.